Hi everyone, this is Miss Gregg from Lincoln, and today we are going to be using our text called Brainy Birds to analyze and discuss the features of an effective explanation. So we are going to start with what are features and what's an effective explanation. You may be wondering those things. So features really just means things that you include in your explanation. So we have features, and an effective explanation just means that it explains something in a really good way so that you can fully understand what it is that the author is talking about. So we're talking about this today because when we do our writing, you will be writing an effective explanation. And so it's important that we know the features of what we need to include so that when it's your turn to do the writing, you know exactly what to put in that makes it an effective explanation. So let's talk about the features of that. So the first thing that we find in an effective explanation is that it introduces the topic or idea. And so that means it tells you what it is that you're going to be reading about, and it's going to be explaining it. The second part we see is that it provides examples or evidence. So you'll see some examples of whatever it is the topic has been introduced. And lastly, we see that it has a concluding statement. That just means it kind of wraps everything up so that we know that this section or this topic will be over, and then we'll be moving on to a new topic in our writing in the next section. So if you do have Brainy Birds with you, if you'll flip open to just the first page, and I really enjoy reading this text because it is nonfiction, but there's so many cool facts that we learn about these birds, the raven, and things that they are able to do. So while it is nonfiction, it almost feels kind of exciting in a way because it's really cool facts that you learned. So if you'll flip open to this first page, Brainy Birds, we are going to read just the first page together, and you'll notice that I have gone ahead and numbered all of the lines. You don't have to do that. That just is something that I do that helps me. But your numbers probably have 5, 10, and 15. So you can just count from there if we're looking at certain lines, or you can go ahead and number yours also. Either way is fine by me. So I'm going to read from the top of this page all the way to the bottom, and then we'll talk together about which parts are the effective explanation, the features of those. All right, here we go. If birds went to school, ravens would be at the head of the class. What's the world's smartest bird? Most scientists say it's the common raven. One sign of ravens' brain power is their adaptability. That means that they can change their behavior to solve new problems. For example, if they can't find one kind of favorite food, they learn to eat something else. In fact, they eat almost any food they can get their beaks on. Their foods include small animals, fruit, seeds, eggs, garbage, and dead meat. And because they eat so many different foods, they can live in lots of different places around the world. Deserts, mountains, forests, cities, and even the cold Arctic. Wow, so that's something that we've probably learned this week about ravens. They can live almost anywhere because they eat almost anything. So let's look at lines in the beginning here. So let's start with start at line number 2. One sign of ravens' brain power is their adaptability. So I'm going to highlight that sentence. And this sentence is what we call introducing the topic. So when we think back to those features, the first thing we do is we introduce the topic or idea. So I see the author doing that. I know that they're going to be talking about their adaptability. And then it goes on to tell us, what does adaptability mean? And it means that they can change their behavior to kind of solve the problems that they have. So that introduces the topic or the idea of this section. We know it's going to be about how they can adapt or change to fit their environment. The next part of an effective explanation is that they provide examples or evidence. So let's see if we can find that. Now, I heard the word example. I'm also seeing the word example. So authors, when they are writing an effective explanation, they'll include kind of like a clue word that helps you to figure out where it is in the text that we're looking for. So the author says on line number 6, for example, if they can't find one kind of favorite food, they learn to eat something else. So the author here is providing evidence and examples that if they can't find their favorite food, they'll just eat something else. And she goes on to list some examples of things that they might eat. So I'm going to highlight where it says, for example, and then I'm going to continue highlighting this section. If you have a highlighter or even a pencil at home, you can also highlight that part or underline it. So this tells us how the ravens are able to adapt or change. So for example, if their favorite food is fruit and they can't find fruit, then they'll just find something else to eat. And I love they gave us that clue word, for example. Now, if we look at the last couple of lines, numbers 14, 15, and 16, we'll see that the author wraps up her idea with a concluding statement. And it kind of ties everything in together. So she says here that because they eat so many different foods, they can live in lots of different places. And so I love that as kind of a concluding statement because it helps us know, okay, well, we've talked about how they are adaptable, and on the next page, we're going to move on to talk about something else about ravens. So I'd like for you to highlight or underline those last 3 lines also. Now, I'm also going to do something with my pencil or whatever thing you have to write with. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little star at the introduction. So remember, the introduction was telling us what this section is going to be about, and we highlighted it here. So I'm going to put a little star here. That's for my introduction. Now the middle section where we found our evidence, I'm going to circle that. Even though we already highlighted it, I'm going to circle it because this tells me this is my evidence. So my circle looks a little bit funny, but I'm circling that whole section there that we highlighted. And then the last 3 lines that we highlighted, we're going to underline. So for our conclusion, we're going to underline those lines. So use your pencil. You may have already done that, and that's fine if you have. Perfect. Okay. So, remember, when you're searching for the features of an effective explanation, you're looking for an introduction or telling you what it's about to be about, the topic. You're looking for a section that tells you examples or evidence that is going along with your topic. And then you're looking for a concluding statement or kind of like a wrap-up. I always think about like when you have a present and someone wraps it up and they put like a little bow on top and maybe they tie a ribbon. That's kind of what I think of when I think of a concluding statement. So you are going to be doing that on another section of this story. So if I look at the directions here, it says identify one explanation that has all 3 features of an explanation. When you find a complete explanation, please, let me zoom in a little bit so you can see that better. Please star where Berger introduces the topic, and we did that already in my example. Circle the evidence she provides to support her topic or idea. We did that also on the example together. Underline where she provides a concluding statement. So we did that also on my example. This part says with a partner. If you have someone that can help you, that's great. You may also do it by yourself as well. Identify one explanation that is missing one of the 3 features of an explanation. And then with your partner or by yourself, add the missing feature. So for example, if the explanation is missing a concluding statement, which is usually the case, write a concluding statement for our author. So I'd like for you to work on the next page. So looking at this section here, which says vocabulary list, this is a header that kind of helps us. So looking at this section, I'm going to circle it so you see it. You are going to be putting a star for the introduction or the topic. You're going to be circling the evidence that's provided, the examples, and then you're going to underline a concluding statement. Now remember, if you find that this section is missing one of those things, then you're going to write it in. So you could get a separate piece of paper, but you're going to write in whatever part is missing. So you're going to kind of help the author include that if they didn't do it in that section. So I hope you enjoy this. I hope you have fun looking for the introduction, the explanation or the examples, and the concluding statement.